I'm Dr. Bob Welkman of the Christian Laity Foundation, and it's God who told us to come on to YouTube with Healing Aspirations, that He wanted us to utilize this. And you found your way to this segment, and we believe that that's God's way of contributing to your healing, that this was something that's relevant to yourself. Just to be personal for a moment with myself, that word sin used to bother the dickens out of me. And the reason for it is that I would hear it associated with the word evil, that sin is evil. And when I would hear people speak of it, that God will send you to hell for sinning, and that there is an unforgivability about it, these kinds of things bothered me, because I knew myself that from my early years of practice as a psychologist, that the reason that I did negative things was because, number one, I did not know that I was doing something that was necessarily bad. It was coming out of me being very defensive, and that also I didn't know how to do it any other way. I was ignorant, simply ignorant. And I was so relieved when a dear friend told me, this was a very, very learned person, a clergy person, that sin was, as I think he told me, it was a Greek term, and that it simply meant you're missing the mark. That's all that sin was missing the mark. And I think he used the example of archery, that if you were shooting at a target and the person who was making judgments about how you were doing called out sin, you blew it. You simply missed the target in some way. And that brought a great relief to me, because I cannot talk with people about hell, damnation, an unforgiving God, that if you do something, all eternity will find you in hell. This kind of stuff is absolutely meaningless to me, because I know from my years in therapy that I spent in trying to understand myself, I was just one lost cookie. That's what I was. Did not understand my motivations for doing things and didn't know how to get out of them. And it took those years to be able to show me to be compassionate about myself because of lostness. And so when we talk about this topic, sin, I have to ask you, are you looking at it because you're feeling guilty about something? Is something troubling you out of your past? Maybe some circumstance? Or that your thoughts are bothering you? Or maybe you've become physically ill in some way, and you're looking upon it as some kind of a punishment for something that you were, quote, sinful, unquote, about. Hopefully, you're going to find answers from our discussion. The reason that we do something that's negative, that's hurtful to ourselves or to other people, is because we don't know any other way to answer what the problem or the issue is at that point other than the way we're handling it. Secondly, we're very frightened people. The human mind is a place of fear. It's based on fear. It's not based on love. If you want to define love, for instance, as the ability to live, to do for others what is helpful and healing for them, and they don't have to do anything back at all for you. You're just living as a servant of whoever you believe your God is. to give away God's healing, then you have to ask at that point, how could one ever look at themselves as sinful? It's a lack of knowledge, either of knowing how to look at the problem in the first place, or even after you've looked at it. People have said to me, well, that sure, you might be ignorant about it, but once you're not ignorant anymore and you're still doing that kind of stuff, it's sinful. And I would say back to them, no, I don't see it that way. What I see is that you simply don't know how to change it yet because God hasn't enabled you to change it. God is in charge of helping you to be able to believe positively. He's in charge. We call it grace. That no matter what you do is not important. It's that God delivers to you a healing by grace. And sin has nothing to do with that. Grace is because you deserve to recover your identity as a loved and loving person who is not doing something from sin, but simply doing something as lostness. This is all that God wants you to be able to do. But the human mind twists it out of fear, because if it feels threatened, it believes in attacking the other in order to stop the attack that you think is coming from them. And therefore we look at them as doing something sinful, evil. They're making you feel bad. But in actuality, if you believe in yourself as an eternal being who cannot be harmed, if you believe in yourself as an eternal being and that your body is a temporary circumstance which has nothing whatsoever to do with your true identity, our traditions tell us, don't you know that you're God's? You see it in Psalm 82, in Judaism. You see it as well with Jesus, quoting that. That doesn't your Lord tell you that you are God's? If this is so, why would we ever believe that we should be fearful? Because you can't kill a God, or you can take us out of the body, but you can't kill a spirit being. You can't kill God. You can drive a bazooka shell through God. It doesn't do anything. We're spirit beings. And so if we're spirit beings, there is no reason to be able to fear, because fear is based on a loss of a sense of identity, either physical identity that you can be annihilated, or annihilation of your sense of who you are, not physical, but you feel a loss of who you are, which also fits under that definition of annihilation. And that's what makes us attacking, and why we would say to others that you're sinful. Or even the aspect of depression. That sin again comes in there. If you think you're sinful, we're not talking about others now, but that you are being very judgmental about yourself, you will turn on yourself and have no way of stopping from that turning, because this is what your human mind thinks, that we are evil people. We have guilt. We have shame about ourselves. Traces right back to when we walk away, or we want to walk away from God, which in this story of Adam and Eve, that we wanted to do something different. We wanted to be more than what God made us. And that when we're walking away from God, you have to have a feeling of guilt. What does God feel about me that I did this? We don't recognize God as our primary source, the center of our core. And therefore, sin can produce the feeling of guilt, that we've done something that is wrong and that is unforgivable, because God is such a great being, and that we have defied him frightens us. And it gets equated with sin, that we're doing something that's evil. We are simply lost. That's all we are. We're lost. No matter in what way you look at this, you're lost about your self-identity. You're lost about who you truly are. You don't recognize yourself as the child of God, made in the likeness and image of God, and that we are God's eternal beings for all eternity, and that cannot be changed. We don't recognize this kind of thing, and in the absence of it, we're fearful, and we become defensive about ourselves, and we think others look upon us that way because the way you think of yourself, you think other people see you that way too. And so you look upon them as dangerous to yourself, and you justify it that they're evil, they're sinful. And don't we see that in the world? That no matter what religion you are, you see people of different religions attacking others, even attacking people within their own religious tradition. The human mind comes up with this concept of sin to justify that you are of worth and the other person is not. What's the answer? It's not to go to our human mind, because our human mind created it. Whether you call it a demon, whether you call it your own thought, you're believing that there is something evil about yourself or others. And the only way it's going to get corrected is that you're going to go to God and you're going to say, am I looking at this right? Is there another way to be able to see myself rather than condemning myself, feeling depressed, punitive towards myself? Is there another way to see this other person who I feel is a threat to me and who I think is dangerous and who I want to attack in order to preserve my own life? Only God can do that. And the prayer that goes with it is, Lord, let me see myself as you see me. Let me understand myself as you understand me. Or God, let me see this other person as you want me to see them, even though I feel attacked by them. Let me see this and let me feel this as you want me to feel it. And these feelings, be it towards yourself or other people, die down when that happens, because you have asked God to take over your mind, and now you see things according to God, and you see the good reasoning for it, and so sin as a concept is now greatly weakened. You know why it's there, and you know how to handle it. That you go to God with it and say, let me handle this as you want to handle it. Let me be what you want me to be. Let me see the other person as you want me to see them, and you do. And once that's done, there is a joy, a relief, a reduction of fear, a joy in being able to give love away to this other person or to love yourself, recognizing you yearn to be healed. You don't want to be negative towards yourself or others, and now you have the way to do it, that you feel God's love of you and God's love of the other person, and shows you that the only way to be able to see it and express it is to ask God to help you do it. Does that help you with the concept of sin? Or if you have more questions, you can get a hold of us on our website, ChristianLaityFoundation.org. Put questions there, and I even understand that there are ways for you to put comments on this YouTube if there are issues there, and we certainly will make every effort to continue this discussion with you. And bless you for coming here. It's not an easy topic, but you got gumption. Good for you. And we send you our love because you're entitled to it. You're lovable and you're loving. Bye-bye for now.